Warning, the following 30-minute pre-recorded podcast contains a guy giving his own personal opinions going on in sports, entertainment, and other things happening in the world, but no politics. Also, he will try his best not to swear, but then again, he might let out a swear or two loose because that's how people talk sometimes. So, if you do not want to hear him babble and possibly swear for about 30 minutes, you may click out at this time. And if you have not clicked off, enjoy the podcast.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's showtime.
Hello everybody and welcome to Colton R's Not So Live podcast, the podcast which is recorded but not live in front of a studio audience. It's actually being recorded inside my room. So yeah, no studio audience. Just by myself in my room. Crazy. So yeah, I am Colton R, your host for this podcast. And you're probably asking yourself right now, Colton, why are you doing this podcast? What made you come to the decision to create a podcast? We need answers. We need answers now. And I'm gonna give you those answers. So, let's go back to the year, probably to the end of 2019, entering 2020. So, I just got out of high school. Well, technically, in May of 2019, I got out of high school. And basically, I was not in college at the time. So yeah, at the end of 2019, entering 2020, I was not in college. Why? I don't know. Well, I actually know. I wanted to go to college. But there were some problems. What kind of problems? Well, I didn't really, get the whole freaking, enrolling in college stuff done in time and a bunch of other stuff I needed to do before I had to enroll and say, hey, I'm going to enroll in college. So I kind of missed out. So yeah, my original plan was to go to Columbus State for 2 years and then transfer to Ohio State for my last 2 years and possibly get, a degree in communication or a degree in anything, that's, that will get me into the, radio or TV business. Like a Bachelor of Fine Arts, which I think that is. I think that's the Bachelor for TV and acting and all that stuff, but I may be wrong, so yeah, sorry if I get that wrong. But yeah, my plan was to go to Columbus State 2 years, do 2 years of community college, and basically transfer to Ohio State for the last 2 years. And that didn't happen, sadly. So, obviously, since I'm not in college, I had to get a job. And my first job was a server at Pizza Hut. Yep. I was a server at Pizza Hut. Crazy enough. Yeah, it was okay. I was making good money, somewhat good money at Pizza Hut as a server. Then, near the 2019 entering 2020 thing, I think it was mostly around January at the time, I believe. Well, January 2020. my mom told me about this this school that, works with like radio and television production stuff, somewhat similar that like similar stuff that I worked with back at Fort Hays Career Center with the film and television production program there. And basically you get a hands-on experience, and you can do all these cool things like host your own radio show and like do like a simulation of a TV broadcast and stuff like that. And the school was called Ohio Media School. Back then, it was called the Ohio Center for Broadcasting, but it later changed to Ohio Media School. And crazy enough, Ohio Media School in general is pretty popular. Well, it is technically popular, a little popular, because they got like 3 schools in Ohio and like a couple of other schools in like I believe like 3 other different states. So I know there's a Colorado Media School, an Illinois Media School, a Miami Media School, and Ohio Media School, which there's technically 3. There's a Columbus campus, a Cleveland campus, and a Cincinnati campus. I went to the Columbus campus. So yeah. So basically I went to the website, and obviously I chose the Columbus campus because duh, I live in Columbus. And basically filled out the information they needed, and they would give me a call in about 24 to 48 hours. Received a call from them, and basically they asked me, how did you hear from us, and what made you want to come to Ohio Media School. And basically I said I wanted to learn everything about the business as much as I can, because I want to be in the business. I want to be either as a newscaster or a cameraman or on the radio, which the person I was talking to, she said that I had a voice for radio, and a lot of people say I have a voice for radio. But I honestly don't think I'm like Casey Kasem type radio voice. Because Casey Kasem, he had a pretty good radio voice. In fact, it's like one of the most popular, radio voices in the history of radio. So, yeah. So, after that phone call, we basically, during the phone call, we scheduled a date for me to take a tour of the school. And when I took this tour, it was pretty cool. I mean, they showed me the sports studio that they do like shows in, like podcasts and internet radio shows on all that stuff. And then they showed me the recording booths that they had. And they had like, I think it was like 6, maybe 7 audio recording booths for like, podcasts or like, audio commercials, like radio commercials. Got to see the radio station studio that they had, WDG Underground Columbus, which was the name of the radio station there. They showed us the podcast studio. They showed the TV studio, which was pretty huge. I mean, well, it wasn't that huge, but it was pretty big. I mean, to get like a studio in there, because the building, it was a small building, but it had like 2 floors. So the top floor is the main school building, and then the bottom floor is like still, like, it had some rooms that are still owned by the school, but like for like streaming, because they had a video game streaming room where you could stream your video games there, and you could do it live on like Twitch. And they also had a computer lab there. So there was technically 2 computer labs. A computer lab on the first floor and a computer lab on the top floor. So yeah. And on the first floor there was also other different businesses and stuff there. So yeah, basically Ohio Media School had to share the building with these different businesses and stuff. But they owned a majority of the building. I say about like 75 to 80% of the building. So that's quite a lot, even though it's just like a small, like, I think it used to be like an office building, like a small office building. So yeah. So after I took the tour, I had to, think about it for a couple of days, and I decided to enroll in Ohio Media School. So after I proclaimed I'm going to go to Ohio Media School, I actually had to go there for like a quick tryout. So basically this tryout that I had with Ohio Media School, basically they gave you like a piece of paper with like a couple of prompts, and you could pick from any of the prompts to do the talking. Well, basically you pick one of the prompts, and then you had to say the prompt into Adobe Audition, which, crazy enough, is what I'm recording this podcast with, Adobe Audition. And then once you do that prompt, basically they play it back and they say it's good, you're in. So yeah, it was a pretty easy tryout. So yeah, after that I was in, and I was gonna start the February 2020 cohort at Ohio Media School. So after I officially enrolled, I left my job at Pizza Hut to focus on going to school, because I feel like I couldn't, balance school and, like a part-time server job at Pizza Hut. And I'm going to be honest with you, I felt like being a server at Pizza Hut was a little stressful, because I felt like, sometimes the work could be a little, stressed out, because sometimes you get like busy days and then there's slow days when there's like nothing really to do. And then, you have some bad days where you're like, oh, you forgot like something in an order, or that the person didn't order this and all that stuff. So yeah, food service, it's not my cup of tea. So yeah. So yeah, left my job at Pizza Hut, went to school, and the first month, we were learning about how to do radio commercials, how to work with Adobe Audition, and I was enjoying it. I was enjoying every single moment of it. And the instructors are actually real people that work out in the field. Like, I had this one instructor that, worked in, radio. I had like two instructors that worked on radio. And then I had an instructor who also worked as like a cameraman for like Fox Sports and I think maybe Fox 28 and ABC 6. But yeah. And then we had an instructor that had experience with drones and an instructor that had his own podcast that he talked with, different I believe it was different bands and musicians. So yeah, we had a lot of pretty cool instructors. And we basically, learned how to use cameras. And they were pretty nice cameras. They were like Canon cameras. Like the camera David Dobrik used to do his vlogs in. I think he's returned to vlogging, but I don't really believe that he is back. He posts only like 2 videos, and it's cool to see him come back, but then again, he's probably not going to do it for that long. But yeah, it was one of those cameras he had when he was doing those vlogs. And it was a nice camera, but it's a very expensive camera. It's like $1,000 camera. So yeah, pretty expensive. Pretty expensive. And yeah, the first month it was great. I was enjoying it. My classmates were enjoying it. I got to know a lot of cool people in that class. Like seriously, it was great. I was having the absolute time of my life. I was like, yeah, this is going to be the best 8 months, and which is basically how long it was gonna take. 8 months. So it would be February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and September. And once we get to September and we do all our stuff, we graduate. And I knew that these 8 months were gonna. It's probably. At first I thought the 8 months were gonna be long, but I was like, yeah, this is gonna fly by. Excuse me. But yeah, I thought those 8 months were gonna fly by. Until next month, March 2020. Yeah, the first week went well until the second week happened when, a certain thing called COVID happened. And, yeah, stuff started to go downhill a little bit. Well, basically, everything changed. So, basically, after the second week of school, we had to, unfortunately, learn from home. So yeah, the hands-on experience kind of gone. Because now we had to learn from our homes. And, yeah, this, it kind of sucked that during a pandemic, you can't really do any hands-on stuff or any internships. Because there was also internships at the school that you could do. Now that everything is taken away, all that stuff gets taken away, and you're now just only in your house learning from like a Zoom call. It was something similar to Zoom, what we had to do, but it was pretty much Zoom. So yeah, we had to learn school from Zoom. And basically, yeah, everything changed after the first 2 weeks of March and after March. So when we get to April, basically, whoever runs the media schools, I think it's called the Beyond Air Network. They basically were like, okay, so everything is going to change now. So basically, we're going to have classes. We're going to basically combine classes. So basically, my cohort got mixed in with the other cohorts in Columbus. But also, we had classes joining in from like Colorado Media School, Miami Media School, Chicago, well, technically Illinois Media School, and yeah, even the Cleveland and Cincinnati, Ohio Media Schools joined in as well. It was a lot. It was a lot that was happening. I believe, there were also instructors from these different, media schools that also were teaching us. So I thought it was, pretty cool that we had some other instructors from different media schools teaching us stuff. I thought it was pretty neat. But still, didn't really have a whole lot of hands-on experience. It was basically like a little bit of rinse and repeat. Like sometimes you'll get, say, I don't know, say you have like stuff you learned before. Like one time we had to do radio commercials. And I've learned radio commercials in the first month. So basically I just had to, make some new commercials. Or I had to make a new concert spot, which we did concert spots in the first month. So yeah, it was a lot of rinse and repeat stuff, but also some new stuff, like music videos. I've made music videos before, like back in Fort Hays. We did music videos for like a project there. So yeah. So I had to make a new music video, and I had to do all this other stuff. Like, we had to make websites. That was a new thing. Make websites. Excuse me. I basically learned how to do Wix. I haven't touched my Wix site in a long time, so that probably needs to be worked on. So, yeah. Yeah, I have not touched my Wix site at all. Especially my WordPress. We learned about WordPress websites, and it's like Wix, but a little more difficult. So yeah. So after about like 3 to 4 months of staying inside and not getting hands-on experience, basically Ohio at the time kind of lifted a little bit of the restrictions, so we got back in the building, but we still had to wear masks and had to socially distance and stuff, but we still got the hands-on experience. But we still had like the instructors from different schools, and also like the different cohorts joining the classes, as well as some of the students from the other campuses also joined in, and they joined in via Zoom. So yeah, Zoom was still a thing. If you couldn't make it into the building, you still had to Zoom in for your classes. So yeah, if you still didn't want to go back into the building, you could still Zoom for your classes. So yeah, but I went back into the building, and I wore a mask, and I socially distanced during that time when they let us back into the building. So after they let us back in the building, sometime, I think it was either in June or July. It was either June or July, because it was like 3 or 4 months. that we had, like, it was 3 to 4 months that we had to stay inside in our houses. So after those 3 to 4 months, in either like June or July, they let us back in the building, but we still had to socially distance and wear masks. Basically, it was a little bit of a walk in the park for me. I basically completed all my assignments, completed all my online courses that we had to do. So yeah, there's online courses you had to do in Ohio Media School, but it's pretty easy if you know what you're doing and if you read the material carefully. Like, you read it carefully and you answer those questions correctly. Online courses are a piece of cake. Seriously. So yeah. And basically, after I completed my assignments and projects and all the online work I had to do, I was set to graduate. And we had our graduation in October and not September. Why? I don't know. But basically, October was also the graduation for the other cohorts, like January, March, all that stuff. So yeah. And in 2020 of October, I graduated. I earned a trade school degree in radio and television production. So yeah, I've got 2 degrees. I got a high school technically I got a high school diploma and then a trade school diploma. And then I got a certificate of completion from Fort Hays, so yeah. And during my last few months, I actually got to start my own internet radio show on WUDG Underground Columbus, and it was called Big C in the Morning. And I know some of my friends know about this show, especially Colton, because I had him on the show. I had my buddy Colton on the show. I had 3 people on my show. I only had 3 guests on the show. Yeah, only 3 guests. I had Colton, I had Colton's cousin, and then I had my buddy Tristan on. So yeah, I had my buddy Tristan, my buddy Colton, and then Colton's cousin. So yeah. And the shows went pretty good. I mean, basically, they went how it was supposed to. Talk about the things that I want to talk about, and also, try and say, hey, what's up? What's going on with you? What's like your favorite song of all time, favorite movie of all time, favorite place to bowl at, favorite memories from childhood, stuff like that. I try to be more like a conversational talk radio show, because that was kind of like the premise of that show. Basically talk about the things I want to talk, kind of like this podcast that I'm doing right now. So yeah, and I was still able to do my radio show after graduation, which was pretty cool. And also during my time during that radio show, I joined a sports podcast with a classmate of mine from the February cohort as well, and another student at the media school, not in our same cohort, but in like a different cohort, but hey, we knew each other from seeing each other in class, and it was fun doing that podcast. It was a NASCAR podcast called the Red Flag Podcast, and I enjoyed doing that NASCAR podcast with those guys. I don't know if they're still doing it now, but I had a pretty fun time talking about NASCAR. I mean, there's not a lot. How many podcasts do you know that talk about NASCAR? None, except for the one I joined. So yeah, I enjoyed doing the Red Flag podcast. It was a great podcast to do. And it was pretty fun talking about the Talladega race in 2020, because I kind of went off on that podcast, on that episode of the podcast, mainly because of the yellow line rule. If you don't know what the yellow line rule is, it's basically the out of bounds line for NASCAR. So that's a little fun fact for you. And also, I helped out the sports emphasis program with a little project they were doing called Friday Night Final, which was a high school football post-game show where we basically show highlights of, high school football games that happened, and also like the scores, reveal the scores and all that stuff, and also interview like players. And I enjoyed that. I actually helped out with editing some of the clips, some of the highlights, and I enjoyed doing that. I like editing highlight reels for football. Like, seriously, that was fun. And then after the football season was over, there was like nothing else to do. So yeah, after the high school football season was over, basically went back to, doing my, show and stuff until September of 2021, where unfortunately I had to end my radio show, mainly because stuff in life happened. Well, basically I kind of lost my ride to the studio from my house to the studio. I know I could have Ubered, but I didn't. So yeah, that happened. So yeah, unfortunately my time at Ohio Media School came to an end that day. Well, that month and that year. And I had a fun time. I don't know what the majority of my old classmates are doing right now, but I hope they're all doing well. I know we had about 20 to 25 people, including me, in that cohort, in that February 2020 cohort. But after COVID happened, I think a lot of them decided to opt out. I think about only 3 of us, including myself, so me and two other classmates, we basically stayed, and then the rest just opted out. So technically about 17 to about 22 students opted out. So yeah, that's how bad COVID was. And I actually saw some of these guys around in the at the campus they were trying to catch up, but I feel like ultimately they just decided to opt out because they knew that there wasn't enough time to catch up on everything, so they just decided to opt out, which I respect their decision. I mean, COVID brought out a lot of stress and mental health things, so I don't really blame them. COVID kind of just put a freaking wrench in everything and messed everything up. So, yeah. So, after, I quit my radio show, I kind of, focused on working on the YouTube channel, as you probably guys have seen. But then, in 2022, I believe, I think it was 2022, maybe 2023, I don't know, can't remember, I decided to create a second show. And this was a live radio show / podcast show on this Facebook page I created, like this professional Facebook page I created for myself. And it was called, it was basically my first name and then my last name. And like it was and then first name, last name, and then show. It was called the Colton Rice Show. Yeah, I named that. Why did I name it that? I don't know. I thought it would probably catch on or something. I don't know. But after like a few episodes, a few live shows and stuff, I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of procrastinated. I procrastinated hard, and I was extremely lazy. And I just decided, well, I tried, but it's not as good as what I was doing back at Ohio Media School. So I decided to end the show out of nowhere. So, yeah. Basically, I ended a second show. Crazy. So, yeah. Ended my first show, ended my second show. Basically, I was like, yeah, this is probably not going to go anywhere. So, I basically told myself I'm probably just going to have to wait for an opportunity to open up somewhere on LinkedIn or Indeed for a radio or television job for me. And just send in the resume and pray to God that, I get selected out of random chance. So, after, I think it was during my second show or after my second show, there was a job offer that popped up on Facebook. And it was from my favorite morning radio show that I listened to on WNCI 97.9. It was from the Dave and Jimmy Show. I was like, oh my God, Dave and Jimmy has a job posting on Facebook? I gotta see this. And it was like, hey, and this is from them. They were like, hey, we're looking for a producer. And we need this producer to do, cool producing stuff. And help us eat a crap ton of pizza. Knowing me, I know my stuff that I learned from Ohio Media School. And I love me some pizza. Pizza is good. Like, seriously, I like pizza. But for some reason, I used to, I was able to eat a whole pizza back in my day, but now I can't do it anymore because I'll just get a stomach ache and throw up. So yeah, I can't really eat a whole pizza anymore. But I can still eat a crap ton of pizza, especially if it's Donato's. But they get their pizza from Pasquale's. And I've had Pasquale's before, and they had pretty good pizza. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to send my resume in. So they're like, hey, send this resume to Jimmy at daveandjimmy.com. So I got my resume off of Google Docs because I always do my resume in Google Docs. So yeah, I got my resume from Google Docs. I don't really use Microsoft Word. I mainly use Google Docs because I think Google Docs is better. So yeah, I got my resume from Google Docs. Put it into a JPEG because obviously you're supposed to JPEG it. Like, exported it to a JPEG. Put the resume into the email. And then I sent it off to Jimmy at daveandjimmy.com. And then, I think it was like a day or two later, I get an email from Kelsey Webb. And she says, "Hey, thanks for sending in your resume for our producer job. We received so many emails that we will try our best to contact you to see if you did get the job or did not get the job." So I was like, okay, just gotta wait for an email and see if I did or did not get that job. So yeah, they basically said, "Thanks for sending in your resume. We'll contact you if there's any update." Weeks passed, and guess what? Dave and Jimmy posts something on Facebook. And they're like, "Hey everybody, here's our new producer." And that producer's not me. It's some other guy. And I looked in my emails to see if I got, "Hey, sorry you didn't get the job" email. So yeah, I was checking through my emails, seeing if I got an email saying, "Hey, sorry, we went another direction." And guess what? I didn't get any email update from Dave and Jimmy. None. Zip. Zilch. I didn't even get an email saying, "Hey, sorry, we decided to go with another guy." I got nothing. They ghosted me. They ghosted me hard. Like, seriously. I have been ghosted before. I've been ghosted by a few members of this church. They say it's church. If you guys don't know what Xenos Christian Fellowship or Dwell Community Church is, yeah, they ghosted me after I left the church. Yeah, they all ghosted me. Every single one of them. Because I learned about them possibly being a cult. We don't know that. It's allegedly, but there have been stories about that, but I don't want to get into it because, people are going to be mad if I talk about it. So, yeah, allegedly, there were stories about them being a cult and stuff, so I left the church and they all ghosted me. So, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. I left the church, and then they all ghosted me. And I also been ghosted by a person that was my best friend. And let me tell you, it hurt. It hurt a lot. Hurt my feelings, hurt my mental health, but I took a couple of deep breaths, ate some ice cream, and then went on with my life. So, yeah. I was kind of devastated that I did not get the producer job for Dave and Jimmy. I can't believe I got ghosted by those guys. So, you're probably like, well, did you stop watching? Well, not watching. Did you stop listening to Dave and Jimmy? No. I'll still listen to Dave and Jimmy. Even though I didn't get, the producer job that I wanted from Dave and Jimmy. And you're probably like, did you send your resume to other radio stations? Well, I meant to, but again, I'm heavy into procrastination and laziness, so yeah, procrastination and laziness got the best of me, and I could not do anything about it, which sucks. So, after about a year and a half of, not doing anything, podcast or radio related, I've decided, you know what? I've been keeping this back for too long because I've had, an idea of mine back in, I think it was like in the middle of May of 2025, like, hey, I've been wanting to do another podcast. I've been wanting to do another podcast of me talking about, stuff I want to talk about, similar to my radio show and similar to my live Facebook show that I did. I want to do it again. And I don't want, my procrastination and laziness and other things get in the way of it. So, after a year and a half, and really trying hard to, not procrastinate, not be lazy, boom, I started this podcast. So yeah, first episode of this podcast is now. So yeah, it's great. It's great to finally be back to doing something I've always wanted to, do, like in radio or video or anything. So yeah, I decided I'm going to do like a weekly podcast. Well, somewhat of a weekly podcast. Because right now I'm going to tell you guys all the things that are going to be happening. So, yeah. So here's the basics for this podcast. I'm going to at least try to make it a weekly cannot speak. I almost said plodcast. What the hell is a plodcast? I'm going to try to attempt to make this a weekly podcast, so you'll probably see a new podcast every Friday. I'm trying to make it every Friday. But if it's not weekly, like if I have like nothing interesting to talk about, like in the week, then maybe, just maybe, I might do once a month. Because stuff kind of gets slow in like May, June, July. That kind of, thing. Because there's not a lot of stuff to talk about during May, June, or July. Well, May is my birthday, so probably at the end of May into June and July. But there is something interesting to talk about. Excuse me, something interesting to talk about during, either May, June, or July. Probably the once a month podcast will probably happen at the end of the month, like near the end of the month, possibly. Probably last Friday of the month, because there's nothing to talk about. So yeah. But don't worry, you won't be bored, because I've got lots to talk about right now, because this podcast is going to contain sports, tons of sports. You're going to hear me talk about Ohio State. You're going to hear me talk about the Cleveland Browns. Even though I know a lot of people do not like the Cleveland Browns, and I know a lot of my friends are possibly Cincinnati fans, but I don't care. I know some of my fans are also Pittsburgh Steelers fans, but still, I don't care. So yeah, Ohio State, Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Cavaliers, Cleveland Guardians. I may talk about, someone of the Blue Jackets and crew, if anything interesting pops up about them. Which I think the crew is still in the Leagues Cup, so that's pretty cool. I'll try to talk some entertainment with you guys, like any movies I've seen, any TV shows, video games, give my opinions on them, say if you should go watch this, go play this, or just avoid it because, it's not that good and you shouldn't waste your time on it. And I'll also talk about other stuff in general. But I'm going to keep my My number one rule on the show: no politics. No politics at all, because I'm going to be honest with you guys. Politics is like bad stuff to talk about. Like anything, if you say anything political, it's gonna leave a bad taste in people's mouths. Like, you're like, why? Why are you gonna talk about politics and all this blah blah blah? So yeah, I do not like politics. I feel like politics, kind of divides people up. So this is a politics-free zone. No politics. So yeah, no politics. No politics at all. Absolutely not. Just no. No politics. No politics. None. So yeah. Sports, entertainment, other things in general, no politics. Just no. So yeah. It's gonna be an interesting podcast, guys. Now you're probably asking right now, are you gonna have any like special guests on your podcast? Any cool like video type stuff in your podcast as well? Probably not. Because, I want to start, slow. I want to start slow and take it easy. Because if I rush into things, it's not going to come out well. So, yeah. I want this podcast to go well. So that's why I'm taking baby steps. Baby steps. Because I don't want to rush into things and make this podcast look like absolute garbage. So yeah. Baby steps. Don't want to screw anything up. Just keep it simple. And make sure everything is good. So yeah. Well, I've been talking for more than 30 minutes. Which is kind of insane. I didn't think I'd be over the 30-minute mark. Because I literally had almost two full pages of stuff to talk about in this first podcast episode. But it seems that I've somehow exceeded expectations. Crazy. But yeah, guys, I believe I'm gonna call this an episode. So thank you all for listening in on this podcast. Next week, we are gonna talk football, specifically high school and college football. Because let me tell you something. Football runs deep in Ohio. Seriously, it does. Especially since we got the Hall of Fame here in Ohio. It's technically in Canton, Ohio, but still, it's Ohio. Ohio against the world and stuff. So yeah. Next week, look out for me talking football. Specifically, high school and Ohio State football. Because the NFL is not ready yet. It's still in its preseason mode, so yeah. Get ready for me to talk about college and Ohio State football. But actually maybe more in the high school football and mainly the other college stuff that's happening in week 0, because Ohio State's happening in the 30th of August and we're not even close. So, yeah. But still, it's football. It's football season. So, yeah. Alright, I'm going to stop talking now. and get this podcast over. So, yeah. Thank you all for listening in to this podcast. Tune in next week where we talk about football. So, with that, guys, thank you all for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Disappointed!
Third time's a charm. Hopefully I don't screw it up. If I do, I'm probably going to be pissed.